Snake stories. Well, the first time I can remember a snake thing is when I was very little, and my father on the farm, he used to work on a chicken farm and run it. It was chickens for meat and it was for eggs. Old school, like they dressed the chickens themselves. None of this factory production rubbish. And anyway, there was a huge brown snake that had been living around, and he chopped it in half. I remember that with a spade. Pretty game. The next thing I can remember about snakes is I was a bit older, and my uncle had come over from Melbourne, and my Uncle Ian, and he was the rich one in the family. He ran one of the biggest insurance companies in Australia. So I was in a very average working class family. He was in the more wealthy, very wealthy person. And he used to take us out and buy us lunch, and he was generous. He was a very generous man. So we'd gone out somewhere, and we were travelling around, and we saw an old ruin in the paddock. And Uncle Ian got out and said, "Oh, let's go over and check this out, guys." So we went over to it, and I was just about to climb and jump up through the window on the side. There was no window, the glass was gone in this building. It still had a roof on it. And my uncle just grabbed me and said, "No, we go through the door." And as we went in there was a 7-foot western brown king snake sitting right under that window. It would have killed me. No hope, as a child. Would have killed me for certain. So that was my next close brush with a snake. Another one was when I was up at my great-grandparents' old house. When they passed away, they left the property and everything, the old house that was built in the before 1920. They left it to everyone in the family, and it can never be sold. I'm still a part owner in that. But the old house was eaten out by termites, and in the end my cousin actually built another house there. He lives there now. But I can stay there anytime I want on the property because I partly own it. I would never allow it to be sold, and I've told my kids when it passes to them, never sell it. Keep it in the family. I'd always have snake stories because my mum grew up there all the time. And I was with my daughter when she was about 5, and we were going down to set some nets, some yabby nets. It was what you might call in crawfish. Right, we call them yabbies here. And I had a net in one hand. I was giving my daughter the snake lecture, be careful, watch out, there's snakes here. And I'm looking at it, and I turned around, and there was the biggest tiger snake I'd ever seen on its tail right in front of me with its head flared. It's a fair dinkum story. And I reckon it was 12 inches from me, from my face. All right, and it looked like a cobra, and it was like that. Now, if I'd moved, it would have bitten me, absolutely for certain, and where I was there, would have died. Couldn't get to medical attention quick enough. But I knew from what I was told, freeze. I grabbed my daughter, she remembers it to this day, she froze too, and we just froze. And because we froze, the snake soon turned around and went the other way. So we followed the snake. Because you got to remember, when people think a snake's biting them, they're not attacking you. It's a defensive mechanism, right? That's what it is. If you stand still and don't move, the snake will leave you alone. Now, to prove that, there's some guys that travel around to all their fairs and shows, and they have a stand about snakes and the welfare of snakes. And inside of it on the floor, they put all the deadliest snakes you could imagine. And they walk around there, right, with flip-flops or thongs as we call them on. They walk around there while these snakes are there. But they do it very carefully, and they stand still most of the time. So anyway, we followed the snake, and it went up through the grass and right around. And in the end, it went into an old shed, which was a water pumping shed for the house out of the river. So I thought this could be dangerous, people could come down here. So anyway, I rung my uncle up, and I said, there's a big brown snake living in the shed. And he said, yeah, I know. I went in there, and it actually was caught in a net, a fishing net. I said, oh, yeah. So you should have removed it. So I just let it go. Fair enough. He said another one will just replace it. So yeah, that's a couple of snake stories. I have a lot of snake stories, but that's a couple to start with.